Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, Michael's back. We've already know this, but yeah, we did get some news today. That's pretty exciting. We are talking about the article that dropped on Bloody Disgusting with Halloween. Miramax TV series will be a creative reset for the Halloween franchise. This is pretty cool. This was something that I don't think anybody expected to drop today of all days. Like, it kind of seems like random, but I think that's kind of par for the course as well when it comes to these series when they're in this midsection where it's kind of like, we don't have any new installments coming out. We just have kind of the rights being shuffled and things being kind of managed or mismanaged around in the background. So yeah, news can drop at any time, and today they decided to do that. Now, I think the thing that I really want to focus on with this is that kind of term that they're throwing around is creative reset. So, Luke, when you took a look at this article, what stuck out to you the most?
I mean, I guess looking at it in hindsight, it's not really surprising that we have to go the creative reset route. I mean, with the way that Halloween ended, you kind of have to either look at an alternate timeline or completely reset everything and go from again where only having the first one as canon or the first how many we're gonna do. So it wasn't necessarily too surprising to me, just because that's the nature of the beast. I mean, with the way that they ended things, with the way they started things with the David Gordon Green saga, in a sense, I was pretty vocal as soon as the announcement had come out that Michael Myers was just caught a little bit after the events of the original, and it was just like, okay, if that's the route we're going to go, but that leaves such a big, wide range of a timeline that we can't even explore because he was just picked up and taken into custody. So, as this creative reset, and we're only looking at that first one, I guess, is what they're kind of saying right now. It seems like the most logical play, honestly.
Absolutely. That's really where my head went initially. So this actually came across my table by a buddy of ours on Twitter and Instagram. He follows the show. He's a good dude. You guys should definitely go follow him. It's Brandon Talks Movies. He usually is really good about tagging us in upcoming stories, big things like that. So this dropped like 10 minutes ago, and then he tagged us. So I was talking with him on there in the comments, and yeah, I was not surprised. Like you, I was definitely like, this makes sense. I don't think any of us, when the rights got sold and everything, we all Halloween fans should have assumed that, yeah, the David Gordon Green, they're not following that trilogy. That trilogy is done. It was a one and done trilogy. Like, they went through, they told the story, they ended it. So I don't think there's really anywhere for them to go back there. So they had to kind of take it back. Now, everybody kind of speculated. A lot of people said it's going to be a pure reboot. A lot of people said that it's going to be, picking up after 4, kind of all of the hopes that everybody was hoping for years, whether it's like what side of the timeline you fall on. Everybody has kind of thrown their hat in the ring to say you can do it with this series, which, to be fair, when you have a Halloween TV series, especially with the way TV is today, where they're essentially just 8-hour long movies, I get why people are like that. I get why people are saying, well, this could give us the best of both worlds. My head initially went with them kind of using the 1978 as the foundation. And granted, I think this is probably a big bias on my point. I'm still not completely out of the possibility of them finally going that anthology route, with maybe every season being set in the Halloween universe, but not every season is going to focus on Michael Myers. I still think that would be a great way to go. I still think if you can incorporate that, and then if you incorporate the kind of the unmade script that I went over a couple Halloweens ago, the Luke Petrowski and Ben Collins script, where Michael is out there. He's just a dude, a phantom. He is essentially evil incarnate, and he goes from town to town. And maybe we pick up with him every other season or whatever. I think that would be such a really cool way to go about it. But if I'm being realistic, I don't think that that's going to be the way they go. I think it's either going to be a sequel series or it's going to be the anthology route, because I feel like if you don't have Michael in every single season, I don't think that's a risk they're going to want to take, essentially.
And again, this opens up the realm of possibility. As you're talking about that unmade script, I mean, you read Fandom Limbs things. There's so many possibilities out there of unmade projects, scripts that never got made. You listen to Halloweenies, they kind of comb through a lot of things. So there's a lot of potential out there. And I think kind of just using that 1978 Halloween as a foundation is absolutely the way to go, because again, it opens up the realm of possibility. You can incorporate almost anything. You could incorporate the events of Halloween 3 and still say we're being true to 1978 because
Exactly.
they're unrelated in a sense. And you can really almost do anything you want. And there's things out there where Michael can be that looming specter. We haven't seen him since 1978, but he was never obtained. And he's just kind of out there. And we've talked about it before, how the town of Derry is under the influence of Pennywise, and how everything's a little bit off. And this, we can use Haddonfield as that, with Michael still out there as this looming specter. Everyone's a little bit off. Things have kind of turned upside down, and nothing's ever truly been the same. And I think that is easily the route to go, where you don't necessarily, I think the luxury of having television is you don't necessarily have to have Michael in it. If someone, you can have him kind of in the background. Maybe we think we see him in a glimpse or things like that. You could even looking at Halloween Ends, you could dedicate an entire season to that Corey Cunningham storyline of just an alternate, someone being inspired by Michael and us thinking that is Michael, and then toward the end coming out that it's not, and just using that. And I think the great idea here is you can jump. We can do 1981. We can jump to 1994, all in the idea of these substantial events that have happened in Haddonfield because of the inspiration of Michael Myers. And then maybe we can kind of get into the meat and potatoes of, hey, if we want to have Michael in some of these seasons, you can easily do that as well. Maybe he isn't necessarily the main focus, but he is around. And then we kind of make him the focal point in and out. And again, you could have a full season, a full arc of Michael, the babysitter murders. Maybe he focuses on someone, and the end of it, he just goes away, and the next season picks up and doesn't have anything to do with him. But then he comes back. It's always this thing of, we don't need the finality that we do in an hour and a half, 2 hour runtime of a feature film. You can do anything. You can bring him back. It can be a revolving door of different elements, So I think, this is definitely the way to go. I'm not upset about it. I know a lot of people are saying, let the franchise die. But I mean, you look at it, how many different incarnations of Dracula have we had? The Wolfman, all these things that are just, paint by numbers. They just are now because they've been here from decades upon decades upon decades. And now, whether you like it or not, Freddy, Jason, Michael, they are our universal monsters. They're going to be around for a very long time, and certainly way different incarnations that we've seen from the originals.
Yeah, and we've said that numerous times, where these kind of 80s slasher heroes, in a sense, are universal monsters for the modern day. And I think you're absolutely right. I know that for us, it was kind of one of those things where maybe I can't say for certain. Maybe at one point I said, yeah, let the franchise die. But, I'm never sitting here seriously believing that. It's more of just kind of like yeah, I think that we need to give it a break. I think that, these series do really well when we, have a couple years of separation between the remakes and reboots. And we cannot forget here, and I was pulling through a couple of things today to really kind of go back and make sure that our notes are consistent and kind of what we've heard already. And kind of when they went back and said that they're going to be doing a series, first off, one of the things that was said was that they're still going to be pursuing films as well. So, and it's not like a Friday the 13th situation where it's like the film part is still up in the air. They have the ability to make films and a TV series here. So I personally think that, yeah, I love the idea you just pitched there, where, again, I like it being kind of these revolving door of Halloween-esque stories set in the Haddonfield universe. where it's not just Michael that we have to contend with, but he can always be there. He can always be a threat that looms in the background. His aura, the evil, never really dies, is what I want there to be. I think that, a series we absolutely adore and something that you're going to be going much deeper into soon is Trick or Treat, where that film, just one film off, absolutely understands the tonality and just what a good Halloween energy and anthology can be. And I think that what we could really see happen here, what I think is the most realistic, is that we kind of get a series that's like that, where Michael can show up and he cannot, but we really save him probably for films. So like we have a series that can kind of dip into the film universe a little bit, and the films can kind of be more Michael centric. So that way it's like you kind of in a way get to have your cake and eat it too. I just think ultimately what needs to happen, and I know I've been saying this for a while, is we just need to make sure that whatever creative team we put behind this, whatever they do, there needs to be a focused vision. There needs to be, a plan, and they need to make sure that they're taking it piece by piece. We can't just sit here and change things willy-nilly and decide, oh, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do that. Or if we're going to do that, there needs to be a really good reason to, and we need to make sure that everybody's on board, because we saw quickly what happened with the David Gordon Green films, where at one point it was all supposed to take place on one night, and then they decided to jump with Halloween Ends, and that was essentially the straw that broke the camel's back for that trilogy. I think that, whether you love it or hate it, I don't think Kills is nearly offensive enough to upset everybody to the point where they're like, oh, that really killed the franchise. It was Halloween Ends where it's like, no, I can't do this. And, some people love it, but I think that's the most realistic take for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having the TV series, you're unhappy with one season. Hey, we're back with another season, and you
Precisely.
can please an audience. We talked with Evan from Rockland Graves to an extent about Halloween Ends, and I had brought up on there where that Corey Cunningham storyline would have been totally digestible within
Oh,
a
absolutely.
10-part series, even with that Michael story there. So you can really tell a lot of different unique stories, and if it doesn't hit, if season 1 doesn't hit with someone, season 2, if it's completely different, hey, might really work. And one of the things that I think opens up in terms of being able to have that TV series as well as the franchise films, you look at what the MCU did. Look at what we just watched, Legacy of Monsters, and what was our biggest takeaway? We hope we see Kurt Russell in one of the films. So it's like, to be able to establish these characters in a TV series, and then you could even bring them over to dealing with Michael in the actual feature films, where it's like you don't have to tell an in-depth backstory, because hey, you watched season 1 and we know these characters, and then we could be catapulting off those events from season 1, and now they're dealing with the Spectre himself, Michael Myers. So you can really get detailed and really in depth with a lot of these characters with having this kind of the TV series, whether it's going to tie in with the franchise or not. But you can really go this opens up with so many different avenues. You can go any which way with it. So I think kind of doing that creative reset was pretty expected, and I think kind of having that clean slate, they painted themselves into a corner with the David Gordon Green stuff because of the story they wanted to tell there. So kind of starting with that 1978 as our foundation, and then we're going to move on from here, and we don't know exactly what stories we're going to tell. I think that is easily the way to go, because you can almost do anything you want. It opens up that realm of possibility. We can be in the 1980s, we can be in the 90s, we can be in modern times. This is we can do anything we want. So I think this is kind of reassuring news for me, to be like, okay, well, this is a creative reset. Let's see what they're going to present to us, because you can really do anything in this world.
Absolutely. It was very positive to read this article. I really liked what they were saying. Again, it's not really, they haven't put their money where their mouth is just yet. We've been saying that a lot recently with many different properties, not even just our big legacy properties, but even, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey thing. We've been saying that for a minute, where it's like, they talk about that needing to be the sequel that they wanted to make, where it's like the film that they wanted to start with, but they didn't have the budget to do it. They're putting their money where their mouth is, it looks like. And now, they're got to hopefully do the same thing here with Halloween, because Hellwig, the gentleman that they were interviewing here, he essentially says, we're on the fast track. It's a it's a big priority for us. We've had a lot of exciting conversations in recent months with a number of really talented people, and I think we have a pretty good idea of where we're going and what we're going to be doing very soon. We're hoping to lock down a creative team here really, really soon. So that's I like that. I think that's encouraging. Is it PR speak? Absolutely. But, I think that that's all we have right now. And I really, again, I love the idea of it kind of living in the world of Haddonfield. I think kind of opening that up is something we've never really done. I've been going through a few different of the unmade scripts from Taking Shape 2 because I got a few videos that are going to be set in, the Halloween universe of unmade films coming out over the next year here. I think there's so many really cool little stories and little things that people tried to do and incorporate things. One of the things that you brought up that I would just love to see is like, it doesn't have to be a season, but what if we're watching a season of this show that takes place, say, 15 years before the events of the first Halloween? And, they're talking about Charlie Bolus, who was the guy that the guy at the cemetery was talking to Dr. Loomis about how he just snaps one day and he gets a hacksaw, and then we never hear the end of that story. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that I think really true fans would love to see, even if it's not the focus of a season, but say it's like just an episode or two. They really dive into what happened there, really open up the world of Halloween. So that way, when we get to these films, when they start doing more movies, we can kind of step away from, okay, well, we got to do Laurie Strode or we got to do a family member for Michael. It's like, no, that's why I like that Luke Petrowski, Ben Collins script so much, is because it says right then and there, it's like, no, the first film happens. Now it's the babysitter murders. He goes off, he kills people indiscriminately for years and years and years. And I think that's really the best route you could take with this series, is just let Michael be a specter in the night. He comes around every October or every few Octobers, and let's focus on some more horror in Haddonfield.
Yeah, and I think the TV series is easily going to open up so many different opportunities for us to go on these side missions, so to speak, in Haddonfield, and kind of get some closure, like you said, with some of the random stories that we've never really heard told, and even establish even more lore. I think it could be rather interesting to see what they're going to present. I'm excited to see what kind of players they're going to put in place here to tell us these stories. So once that news comes out, I definitely can gauge on the quality of things that are going to come out. But I think the way to go here is maybe tease us with Michael. I think maybe there's some fatigue out there, and especially with the David Gordon Green saga. And I think people are the obvious route's gonna say, hey, season 1, episode 1, we open with Michael and whatever he's doing, make us work for it. Give us something that that's a little more unconventional, and say, hey, we'll tease Michael and maybe he's going to show up, but you're not going to get him right out of the gate. So we're so hungry to see anything Crystal Lake, Jason Voorhees, because we haven't seen it in so long. So make us want Michael again, I think. And I think this TV series could easily do that.
I'm right there with you. Do I think that that's the route they're going to go? They'd have to have some real confidence.
TV. They have the luxury to do anything they want. People aren't going to tune out, guaranteed. Horror fans are going to be on for the ride. So
I really hope you're right. I do. Knowing Miramax, though, I would be worried that they'd have to say the first season has to involve Michael. But from what we know of the Camp Crystal Lake series, I know different producers, different creative team entirely. They have very much said that they want to kind of use this as like a prequel that goes into the film. So seeing them kind of work into Jason, if that's their plan, that's great. But I think that I think that might be a bit of a stretch. But if they do it, then I give them all the credit in the world, because I think that's the perfect route to go with this. Maybe even have it to where we don't see Michael or even allude to him until the last episode of season 1, and it's just a little tiny bit, and then we could build up each season until finally, like maybe season 3, it's like Michael Myers is back.
Yeah, I think
that'd be great.
I think Crystal Lake is going to set that tone. If they get great reviews from that, I think they're definitely going to be looking at that TV series as a blueprint to see what they can do with the Halloween franchise. So we'll have to wait and see, especially if we get a couple creatives behind behind the lens here that are really adamant about that storytelling and have a very specific vision. I could see them doing a little pushback to say, we don't need Michael. We have this story to be told, and it's, hey, you don't like season 1? Halloween, the TV series, is going to sell itself for season 2. So we'll have to wait and see what the creatives have in store for us.
Absolutely. And hey, the thing that we didn't actually get to talk about is that, and I'll just mention it here because we're talking horror TV series. We don't have to go too deep into it. We'll circle back when there's more news. But Friday the 13th, the series, Crystal Lake, rumored 2024 release date. So at least for that first season. So TV doesn't take nearly as long to produce as movies. So I think that that's realistic, especially because they've been working on it. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Get here soon.
It's an exciting time, and they're saying this isn't going to take very long to get going, especially once they get that creative team out there. I think we would have maybe even had Crystal Lake this summer had the writer's strike and actor strike not happen, which I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened, but I'm saying like if outside influences didn't take over, we could have been looking at that hitting in like July. But I say take your time. We've waited this long for Jason. I say you still got some time with Michael. We're good. We got a lot of things. Terrifier is still climbing the ranks. He's still out here doing some wonderful things. We just had Thanksgiving, which is getting a sequel. So we got some slashers coming up in here that can satisfy us. Let the big dogs cook for a little bit and then release them on our streaming networks, on our television, and just give us some good stories. That's all I'm asking
Chauncey.
for. Yeah, Chauncey, really great. You still got him up there, or did you take him down?
He's right behind me there.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, Chauncey, a lot of fun. Good little bear. Yeah, definitely. While we're talking about that, check out our review for Imaginary. Blumhouse sent us a little Chauncey bear. We did a little fun, video. I put it up on our social media this morning, so you guys get to see that. It's also a YouTube short. But yeah, we did review that film. It's Blumhouse. It is what it is. But there's a great movie out called Frogman, which just popped out today. So definitely check all of your streaming services. I know it's on Vudu. It's only $14 to buy it, and I know you're going to want to buy it. But yeah, other than that, lots of great stuff up on the channel. So check those out. And we got more reviews coming, more fun properties that we got screeners for coming up this week. So keep your eyes peeled. And next time there's some more Halloween news, some more Crystal Lake news, we got you covered here on Splattercast. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, we slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, we slash your ass.